Hey guys, Jackson here with a review cap for the finale of The Last of Us Season 1. I will also be sharing my overall thoughts and feelings on the show as a whole, and without further ado, this is your spoiler warning. The episode begins with a flashback sequence of a heavily pregnant woman running for her life from the infected to a Firefly safe house. The woman's name is Anna, and we'll soon find out that she's Ellie's biological mother. For the audience that hasn't played The Last of Us, the actor playing Ellie's mum is Ashley Johnson, and she is the voice actor for Ellie in the video game. As Anna enters the house, she expects to find Firefly members there, but unfortunately for her, it is empty. Her waters break and she's clearly going into labour. In a panic, Anna goes upstairs and does her best to lock herself in her room, barricading it with a chair. An infected woman breaks through the barricaded door and attacks Anna. Anna defends herself and manages to kill the infected woman with some well-placed knife stabs, the same knife Ellie has and uses in the present day. As Anna looks down, she realises she has given birth to baby Ellie, before sadly noticing she has been cut on her thigh. Anna quickly cuts the baby's umbilical cord in hope that Ellie doesn't get infected with cordyceps as well. Some time passes and Marlene, who we last saw in episode 1, arrives at the house with some of her crew. They find Anna and baby Ellie upstairs, with Anna holding a knife to her neck, ready to end her life. Marlene informs Anna that they were held up at the QZ zone and apologises for being late. Anna tells Marlene she has nothing to be sorry about before pleading with her that she takes baby Ellie and then kills Anna. Anna tries her best to reassure Marlene that Ellie's umbilical cord was cut before Anna was infected, and once again asks her to take Ellie. Marlene is hesitant, but Anna begs her to do this as they are lifelong friends, and Marlene reluctantly accepts her request. We fast forward to present day and Ellie is in deep thought. Joel tries to communicate with her, but she's being off with him and quieter than usual. Joel tries to keep things light and is more talkative than previous episodes have shown him. Both characters appear to have almost reversed their personalities, and it's likely due to anxiety with what might happen next, as they are close to Salt Lake City, where the hospital and their subsequent journey may end. As they progress towards Salt Lake City and the hospital, Joel remarks that he would like to teach Ellie guitar one day, but Ellie is still preoccupied. They enter a tall building and begin making their way up to try and get eyes on the hospital. Ellie becomes distracted and runs off, and this is where the iconic giraffe scene from the game happens. Joel catches up with Ellie and they come face to face with a giraffe, eating foliage on the side of the building. Joel shows Ellie how to feed the giraffe before giving Ellie a branch of her own. The giraffe begins to leave and Ellie runs to a different part of the building to get a better view. Joel and Ellie admire the view and the herd of giraffe in the distance, and Joel asks Ellie if she wants to forget it all, and they live out their days back in Jackson with Tommy. Ellie tells Joel the same response that is said in the game. After all we've been through, everything that I've done, it can't be for nothing. Ellie then tells Joel she will go with him wherever he wants after they finish this, even to the moon. As they make their way closer to the hospital, they come across an abandoned triage camp, set up by the army when the outbreak happened. Ellie asks Joel if he went to one of these with Sarah, and Joel says no, that it was after Sarah and just him that visited one of the triage camps. Ellie immediately thinks it's because of the story Joel told her back in the early episodes, where he was shot at and how he has a scar on his head, but Joel corrects her and tells her a very emotionally heavy story about how he gave himself that scar by trying to kill himself following the death of his daughter. Ellie then asks him if time heals all wounds, and Joel tells her it wasn't time that did it and gives her a meaningful look. Joel lightens the mood by asking Ellie for some shitty puns. Ellie happily agrees and begins reading jokes to Joel as he rates them out of 10. Sadly, the moment doesn't last as we see a couple of guys emerge from behind them and throw some sort of smoke grenade towards them, resulting in them both getting captured and taken away. As Joel regains consciousness, he is greeted by Marlene and a couple of fireflies. Marlene apologises for the way they were caught, and she explains the guards didn't know who they were, and if they did, they wouldn't have done that. Joel asks where Ellie is and to see her, and Marlene reassures him that she is fine, and he can't see her as she is being prepped for surgery. Joel asks what surgery they are performing, and Marlene explains that the doctors think a cure is possible, and that she's been living with cordyceps her whole life. Joel's aware that cordyceps grows in the brain, and he knows that the surgery and potential cure will also mean Ellie's death. Marlene tells the guards to escort Joel off the premises and back to the highway, and as they begin to leave the building, Joel attacks and kills the two guards. as he can't allow himself to let Ellie die, even for the greater good. Joel goes on an absolute rampage and single-handedly kills all the Fireflies on his way to the operating theatre. As he enters the theatre, he tells the surgeons to stop what they are doing and detach all medical devices. The lead surgeon tells Joel he can't let her go with him, and Joel point blank kills him. Joel takes an unconscious Ellie and works his way to the parking lot in the basement of the hospital. As he is about to load Ellie into the car, he's confronted by Marlene, who asks him what Ellie would want, and that it isn't too late to stop this. Joel shoots Marlene, who is heavily wounded, and Marlene begs Joel to let her live. Joel says to her, "You just come after her," before killing Marlene and setting off for Tommy's settlement in Jackson, Wyoming. Ellie wakes up in the back of the car, still in her hospital gown, and panics. Joel informs her that they'll get some new clothes en route to Jackson, and Ellie asks Joel what happened. Joel lies to her and tells Ellie that the hospital ran some tests on her, and that there are dozens of people out there that share her immunity. He further tells her that they've stopped looking for a cure, and that the hospital was attacked by bandits, and he barely made it out of there alive. Joel and Ellie make it to Wyoming, but have to walk the remainder of the way, as the car has broken down. As they see Jackson from the hilltop, Ellie opens up to Joel and tells him about how she had to kill her best friend, and since then, everyone that she has known and cared for has died on her journey up to this point. Ellie asks Joel again about what happened at the hospital, and asks him to swear to her that it's the truth. Joel says, "I swear," and there's a long pause from Ellie before she says, "Okay," and the episode ends. The finale of The Last of Us stayed largely faithful to the source material, but in this instance lacked some of the emotional weight and impact found in the game. Although it still had most of the great moments, such as the iconic giraffe scene, I can't help but feel slightly underwhelmed, and I wonder how different my experience would have been if I'd never played the game and didn't know the twist ending. Furthermore, it had the shortest runtime of all the episodes, and it did feel slightly rushed. The lack of infected seen in the finale was a disappointment again, especially with how prominent they still figure at this point in the game. Having a whole sequence before they reach the hospital, and reminding you just how important it is to find a cure to cordyceps. Having said that, the episode as always was to the highest quality, and I still had the dread of watching Joel have to make the hardest decision of his life. Pedro Pascal did a fantastic job as always, and Bella Ramsey continued to excel as Ellie. It was nice finally seeing Ashley Johnson, who voiced Ellie in the game, make her on-screen appearance as Ellie's mother, and her prologue finally gave us context as to how Ellie is immune, something the game never outright told the player. It also added significance to Marlene's willingness to sacrifice Ellie for the greater good, and she promised to Di and Anna that she would look after Ellie. The Last of Us season finale mostly sticks the landing in its shortest episode to date, and remains must-watch television that I'm sure will be a satisfying conclusion for most. Final score, 8 out of 10. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the finale. I'm curious to know the thoughts of both viewers that have played the game and viewers that haven't, and how opinions may differ. I'm not going to make a separate review video for the show as a whole, but I will say now that I thought it was fantastic throughout, and although I had my reservations on the casting of Joel and Ellie initially, I thought Pedro and Bella grew into their characters and were excellent. My only big disappointment with the show is the lack of infected we see throughout, as I feel it removes some of the gravitas for needing to find a cure. My final score for the show is a 9 out of 10, and I'm personally excited for Season 2, despite playing Part 2 and knowing what will happen next. Finally, if you're new here then please consider subscribing to my channel for regular TV, film and gaming content, including live streams. We're currently on the road to 100 subs, and thank you to anyone that has already subscribed. It means the absolute world to me and we're only just getting started. And as always, I hope to see you next time.